So one day you're going to wake up with a plan, an idea to change the world. Your aspirations will be so high. You want to do so much great and have so much impact. And you know exactly what you need to do. It just clicks and you don't know where it comes from at all. It may be a sign from God, it may be a coincidence. And I still can't explain to this day what gave me this level of awareness. Why do I feel this desire to fulfill my purpose and to help people and to build $1 million business? Why do I feel like I need to do that? And there has been so much issues, and I've seen this with my friends, I've seen this with strangers, I've seen this within myself as well. And for such a long time, it stopped me from actually achieving anything I wanted in life. And there was a gap between the intent that I have, the good I want to do, the action, and the action that I take. So the gap between intent and action always kept me stuck in the same exact place. And I realized that I needed to change something that was larger than just changing my thoughts and my beliefs. And I needed to completely 180 who I was and completely change who I thought I was, or else that wasn't gonna slide. I wasn't gonna eventually become a millionaire. And obviously I'm not there yet, but I've made crazy progress over the last few years, and I've done pretty well for myself at my age, and I'm further along than a lot of other people might be when it comes to the career and that. And what happened a lot when I first started was I had these urges to kind of maybe check my phone, or go scroll on Instagram for a little bit, or to do something that is just going to hold me back. It's going to stagnate. It's going to cause me to stagnate. It's going to keep me distracted and keep me in that same cycle, in that same loop, same dopamine loop that I had always been in. And it's like a gnawing feeling at the at your conscious. It's just telling you to why not just pick it up? And it feels so automatic. It feels like you're separate. Your body is separate from your mind, and your mind is just like telling your body to just move, and you have no conscious thought of actually picking up your phone and scrolling and doing all these things. Now I want to speak about this idea of the self-concept of who you think you are, and how that plays a massive role in actually allowing you to achieve anything you want in life and becoming successful. And the self-concept is really just the perception of the self and how the self feeds into your thoughts, and your thoughts create your actions create your reality, and your reality will feed inevitably back into your identity. And I want to break down exactly how these actions are being kind of scattered throughout the day, not necessarily scattered, but kind of distributed, and how your attention is distracted and how your energy is also being wasted. And this isn't just kind of like psychology and all that wooey spiritual stuff that you probably see a lot of the times online, but it's actually like a proven framework that has allowed me and many other people around me to take back control of their life and actually be proud of the person they are becoming. Once you understand these concepts, you're going to understand a lot about yourself, and you can quite literally just like manipulate reality to and bend it to your will, and just go after everything and anything you want. Now, and it's not just like some like psychology you might learn in school or anything like that. It's going to be like the operating system that you will continue using for the rest of your life, and it's going to create that foundation that you're now going to build on top of for the future years and as you grow older. And it really is going to determine your emotional baseline of how to react to certain situations. How do you respond emotionally? How can you communicate your emotions? What actions do you take through your day? It's obviously going to create your reality, because your actions will create your reality. So it has so much impact, and you have no idea until, eventually you just hear me out and, just stick throughout the entire video. And I want to try to give you as much value as possible. But when you don't commit to actually changing anything about yourself, and to reflect on yourself, and to go through a little bit of introspection, discomfort, and sit with your own thoughts, you realize that most of your actions, I think it's about 60% of your actions throughout the day, are just habitual. There's no thought and logic and actual meaning that goes into the actions. And I think maybe 20% is deliberate, and then another 20% is reactive. So there's a good portion of that is just being wasted on probably misused habits and old habits that don't serve you, and 20% being reactive, how you react to situations and letting it control you. That means about 4/5 of what you do throughout the day is automatic, or it's triggered by an external circumstance or something like that. And that means you really have no control over what happens in your life. You are kind of just moving and allowing life to happen to you, and not maybe specifically or blatantly playing the victim, but you're kind of playing the victim on the back end or on the sidelines by just allowing this stuff to happen. And these, like I mentioned, these actions, they feed into this entire system. They feed into your thoughts, they feed into your reality. So, if you're taking 20%, not deliberate, 20% reactive, and 60% habitual actions, that's obviously going to feed into your identity, and you're going to start to believe that that's the type of person you are. You're just that reactive type, or you're just the person who scrolls on TikTok. And it's a lot harder to break these habits once you attach it to your identity and the person who does that, and you don't make any effort to kind of get out of that. And it's very difficult to get over it, because it's literally the operating system that you've been using for like your entire life, since your childhood. And these beliefs that are in this operating system have just been served and solidified by, parents, teachers, and your environment. And it's difficult. It is very, very difficult. And your operating system, your identity, who you are now, knows exactly kind of what preferences, what things you like, what your comfort zone is, what are you afraid of. It knows all these things, and it's been built over the past, decade. And so it's a very hard thing to kind of realize that this isn't who you should be, and this isn't who you want to be. And these actions that you take, the reactive and the habitual ones, the negative habitual ones, aren't really going to serve the highest version of yourself. So every time you want to become that highest version of yourself and the person that you seek to be, your body is just obviously naturally going to produce more anxiety, more doubts, more fear, because you're not used to living in that zone. You're used to living in that room. You are used to living in the room here, this room that is filled with negative self-talk, that is filled with negative habits, that is filled with all these reactive actions. Now, if you try moving rooms, you try opening the door, it's not going to give in right away. You're going to have so much kickback from the anxiety, from the doubt, from the limiting beliefs, because it doesn't align. You're not in with both of these selves, right? And the more you try and you force yourself, you're going to get more and more tired, and eventually you're just going to burn out. And that's why most people quit, and you see people get that, the shiny object syndrome. But shiny object just ties down to being burnt out, of forcing yourself to become a new person. And the old self just gets used to feeling good because you get used to your comfort zone. You get used to who you are at the moment, and it just feels better because you don't get to experience that pain, the doubts, and limiting beliefs. And then eventually you just start to move backwards, because if you're stagnating, eventually you're just kind of moving backwards. So you inevitably just start to skip days, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and then you end up quitting, like I mentioned. And then it just, because you just keep trying, you're probably going to try multiple times after you quit, but it just kind of seems impossible at a certain point. Like, you just can't do it anymore because you keep trying and things just aren't working out for you. You tell yourself you probably weren't ready, or that now's the right time, you need to focus on other things, or that it's not so important because you want to focus on getting good grades in school or whatever it is. But this thought was placed in you for a reason, and it's not just completely random. Like, it's so hard to explain, and I can't really explain this, and I think the best way to explain it is just to esteem something higher than the self, and to get it from God. And this idea in me and many people that I'm surrounded with, and if you're listening to this video, I hope so for you as well, but it's just kind of just planted like a seed in your brain. It just kind of doesn't go away, and it will never go away if you don't go towards it, and if you don't let it grow, if you don't let it kind of sprout. But the thing is you have to give it sunlight, you have to give it water, and if you're not doing that, then obviously it's going to die out. And whether it is the right time or the wrong time, I don't think that matters at all, because there's not going to be a right or wrong time, and that's just a trick that your brain is going to play on you, and you just can't listen to what it's going to tell you, what your mind's going to tell you. It's going to tell you, about timing. It's going to make up all these excuses, and it might even say that this isn't realistic, and making millions is super hard because your entire life your parents planted the seed of doubt in your mind that rich people are bad and that you don't want to be like them. Now, when you want to change, like I mentioned, there's 2 different rooms. When you want to change, you exist in 2 different states. You exist in a fragmentation, and I love Carl Jung. I've studied his stuff for quite a long time, and I think if you ever get the chance, his stuff is quite complicated if you dive really deep into it, but if you go surface level, it's really, really great. But so I want to reference his work as much as possible, but he speaks obviously about the part of ourselves that we reject or we deny, and that's the shadow, and how it's not going to disappear, and the more you push it away, the more it's just going to come up, and we are ashamed of this individual. We want to push it out as much as possible and create an image for ourselves so we can be portrayed as a person of power, of prosperity, of financial success. We want to maintain a status, and we don't want to be seen in a bad light. But it's never going to disappear. It's always going to be active. It's always going to be there, and it's always going to have some sort of influence over us, and that influence is determined by how much power you allow it to have over you. And if you allow that shadow and that part of you that exists in the fragmented state, the old self, if you allow it to have so much power over you when you're trying to change, then obviously you're not going to be able to go anywhere. You need to accept that it's going to be there, probably forever, because you can't just erase those parts of you. They're just going to be there. You just need to understand that they're there, but they just don't have power over you anymore. And every action that you take, every little thing that you do is a vote, so to say, to be in that room on the right, the room that is the desired self. And every action that you take that aligns with this room, which is the fragmented, the old self, and the one that is not going to get you to where you want to be and to be successful, every time you take an action that aligns with that, whether it's the habitual one, the reactive ones, reactive is usually going to go back in the ear, and the deliberate ones usually lean towards more of the desired self. That's always a vote. And the more actions that you take in alignment with that certain room, the higher of a chance that you start to adopt that identity and you start to become that person, right? You cannot become rich. You cannot be rich before your mind doesn't believe that you're rich, or that you don't embody the version of you that is already rich. That does not make any sense. You cannot become rich if you don't believe that you're going to be rich, and if you're not that person already, right? Your mind cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. So I guess you have to kind of just fake it till you make it, but it's not really faking it till you make it, because that person, a version of you, already exists. And during this process, it's always going to feel difficult, and I mentioned this quite a few times. There's always going to be resistance. There's always going to be some sort of friction that goes on, and this might come up with certain triggers, with old friends that you see, with old addictions that you have, and a lot of the times it feels really scary, and sometimes it feels like life or death, and your brain can't tell the difference between that. Like if you have always had social anxiety and now you're in sales and you have to get on a sales call, well, that feels pretty, scary, and it's pretty shitty to go through that. But that's a part of the process, and these are things that you have to allow yourself to overcome. And you can't be consumed by something that is just created in the mind, that has literally no tangible evidence that exists. There's no existence of fear. Fear exists in the mind. There's no tangible evidence that this exists in reality, and there's no objective way to define this. And everybody's afraid of different things, right? And for your new self to completely live, to prosper, to be at its highest potential, then that old self has to die. But it doesn't have to die in the way that you think it does. Like I mentioned, it doesn't have to disappear completely, and it never will disappear completely. It just has to have less power over you. And the more you stop letting it have power over you, the more you're going to feel powerful yourself, and the more you're going to feel so much happier, and you're going to feel more lightweight, and you're going to start to truly feel in alignment with yourself. And after all this talking, I want to try to give you as much I want to try to give you a framework. I want to try to give you actionable advice that you can take with you, instead of just kind of yapping for 20 to 30 minutes. I think it's kind of my duty to do that, and it should be mandatory for me to give you this advice. And I believe information should be accessible to anyone, and I think anyone should be able to be given the opportunity to completely change their life, whether you decide to or you don't. That doesn't really bother me at the end of the day, because I'm doing my part, and I'm giving you this information. But here are some of the things that have really helped me change my reality and change the person that I am. And I think they're really good, and you really just have to stick with it, and you have to trust yourself through the process. It's going to take time, and once you do, I promise you it's going to be so worth it. But number one is, obviously, I just mentioned this before, but you need to embody the version of you that has everything you ever wanted. So, stop acting like the person that that you're going to change. You literally need to embody every single thing that they do. Think about what they do when they wake up, where they go directly, what does their work setup look like, how do they speak, how do they dress, how do they smell, how do they do anything. You start to embody that, and your mind is going to literally just believe that version of you exists, and that you are that version, because like I said, your mind cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. So the version of you that's already won doesn't stop to think about taking a cold call, or hopping on a sales call, or speaking to that cute girl at a coffee shop. Obviously that person of you, that version of you, doesn't stop to think about that. They just do it because that's what they do. That's the type of person that they are. And it's not like it's pretending, and if you need to pretend for a little bit, go ahead, pretend, and manipulate yourself into being this version of yourself. But you're not pretending to be them. You're just that part of you is in the mind, because That part of you is already there. You're just gaining access to it. Because of that seed that was planted, that this idea to want to change the world, to start something greater, and to go actually and chase your dreams, that seed is already planted there. So you're just tapping into that accessibility to do that. It's obviously in existence. It's a possibility for it to happen. It does exist. So you're just accessing that. You're not pretending, you're not faking it. You're just accessing it. And I think this is the best way to look at it. Next thing is obviously you need to take the time to activate that part of yourself, because it's not going to come out super easy. It's not going to come out like really quickly. It takes time, and your emotional state is heavily dependent on this, and it's going to determine what makes this feel possible, what makes that version of you, or acting and embodying that version of yourself, possible. So if you're like in a low, sad state, then everything is just going to feel like literally impossible. But if you're, in a high state, then things are going to feel super, super easy. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever felt this, but I felt this many, many times. There's times where I will have such a strong desire, or speaking to strangers is just so much easier than other times. Like, there's no friction at all. I have no care in the world of what people think of me, and I just speak freely to everyone, and I want to express myself. And there's other times where it's a little bit more difficult. Obviously I still do it, but it's a little bit more difficult. And that's kind of because that state of mind just was activated, and it's not always easy to tie back of where and how that was triggered. But once you start to really reflect and you get into a meditative state and you really calm down your body, you can track at which points this actually happened, and how did it happen, and did I enjoy feeling like that, and how do I want to feel like this again? So this is how you reactivate those states, and you do this through obviously meditations and calming down the mind, so you can have clarity, and so things aren't so loud and you're not really distracted. And once you realize this, and once you kind of understand where it came from at its source, and then you're going to be able just to shift states whenever you want. You're going to be able to go, from that version of you that just speaks to so many different strangers, and it's so empowering, and, basically like flow state. And then you can, go back to wanting to just be in your own little bubble. And everything in life is going to be just a state of mind, and you can swap between states of mind at any single moment you want once you start to have, that ability to do so. And next thing is metacognition. It's this idea of metacognition, and it's a kind of complicated process. It's not like it's impossible. My phone has been down the entire time, but I feel like I want to pick it up now. But it's just, for me, this was probably the hardest one, but it was the realization that you are not your thoughts, and that whatever comes up in your mind, the limiting beliefs and the doubts and the negative self-talk, that is not you, and it's the awareness to be the observer of the thought and not to be consumed by thoughts. And you don't have to fight it, you don't even have to put any energy towards it, because this is not you. So once you understand that these are things that are just passing by, these are clouds in the sky, this is a car going through traffic, and you were the observer of that, then you start to realize that, okay, this has no control over me. There's fear. There it is. It's just, chilling in my mind. It's telling me not to call this person, but I don't listen to my thoughts. They don't control me. I have complete control over my destiny and my actions, and I do whatever I want. And now it has no control over you, and now you can literally do whatever you want. Like, imagine fear didn't control anything. If you didn't have any fear about anything and you knew you could succeed, what would you do? You'd probably literally do anything, and you would move with so much conviction and so much confidence that it would be inevitable that you would succeed, right? Now, third thing, and I think this is something that I find is really, really interesting, but it's really to go deep when it comes to fuel, when it comes to what drives you, what really gets you going, because obviously you're going to need things that motivate you. Discipline is great. Obviously motivation is very temporary, but you're going to need things that are going to get you through the pain, that are going to get you through the hardships, Because without this why, without this strong why, then you're not going to be able to push through it. It's going to be almost impossible, because you're going to have no reason to why you're enduring all this pain. And your why is consistent of two things. It's consistent of what you're running towards and what you're running from. Now, what you're running towards is great. That's your vision board. That's all those amazing things of, how much money you want to make and how much weight you want to lose or gain, all these things. But there's also the negativity. I don't see as much as negativity, because I think, having these desires or these dark things that you're running away from are a lot more powerful than running towards something. And as humans, I think we have a better time of running away from something than running towards something, right? Running away from someone that we don't want to be or things that we don't want than running towards things that we actually do want, because we attach ourselves to emotions, to how it makes us feel. So when we're in a state of experiencing something that we don't want, we know exactly how it feels, how it makes us feel, what kind of emotions arise. So it's easier to run away from that. If we're trying to run away towards something we've never had, we don't know how it makes us feel. So it's a lot more difficult, right? And you have to get down as deep as possible. Like, why do you want this? You always ask yourself why to its literally like its deepest core, as much as you can go. Like, why do I want to make $10,000 a month? Why do I want to make $100,000 per month? Okay, I want to be financially free. Why? Well, I want to be comfortable. Why do you want to be comfortable? Because I never felt, a sense of security in the household. Whatever it is, you're going to keep going down, and it can go down for a really long time. And it's really important that you get down to the core and to the deepest why that you can, because that's going to be, enough fuel to really allow you to burn for a really, really long time. And like I mentioned, there's two sides. There's the pain that you're running from, and there's the goals that you're running towards. You do this for both, and you uncover the pain, and you understand, let's say you're running away from pain and you're chasing goals because you want to be able to eat whenever you want. As an example, you want to have a fridge full of food at any single moment. All right, why do you want that? Well, because I, had an empty fridge and I would only eat, 1 or 2 meals a day, back when I was living, let's say, with my parents. Okay, why is that? And you just keep going down, and you can do this for pain, you can do this for goals. And it's going to really hurt to realize this. And you're going to know when you've got to the depth, when it's a pain that just makes your chest like burn, and it just makes you want to just go after something with so much confidence, and you just get a spike of motivation in the moment, and so many emotions arise, and you're going to realize it. And I can't explain it to you, but obviously, because I'm not you and we're all different, but you're going to realize it, trust me. So those are kind of the things that I've used, and this idea of the self-concept, of the self-image, or to constantly just taking votes and to acting in alignment with your highest version of yourself, and to not just letting your old self have control over you, not letting it define, what happens in your life, not letting it control your destiny, and not just accepting that this will allow you to get to where you want to go, but redefining yourself, uncovering your true power, and just really realizing that, you can do anything in this world, from, making as much money as you want, to making as many friends as you want, from switching states of mind and just manipulating your reality. You can do that. So every single rep counts, and whether you make mistakes, you're fine, you're human. Don't let guilt hold you back. And guilt is going to hold you back from, success if you let it. Don't let the past affect your future. Don't let it affect the present moment. Stay in the present, but obviously look towards the future. Show up every single day, whether it's big or small, whatever it is. Let your old self, obviously, it's got to exist. It's going to be there. Those past memories that you have as a kid are amazing, and that's part of your old self. So keep that there. Just allow it to lose its power over you, because it has no more power over you. It has no more control over you. And this is never going to be easy. No one said it's going to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. And sometimes you're not going to want to show up at all. Sometimes you're going to just want to lay in bed and just do absolutely nothing. But I promise you, if you keep working towards it, it's going to be so damn worth it. So I will see you guys in the next video. I love making videos like this. I'm going to continue making videos like this. If you have any ideas of what you want me to talk about, you can leave it down in the comments below. But anyways, I'll see you boys in the next one. Ciao.